We now have a system with a RideStarted event that flows from the ride service to the vehicle service and results in a visible change. Next, we're going to implement a second event and have it pass through the same steps to provide the opposite effect. In this case, we'll be creating a RideEnded event that will result in a vehicle being marked as available again. We aren't introducing any new ideas or concepts here. We're simply practicing the steps that we've already done. Thankfully, a lot of the framework is now set up for us, and we just need to fill in some of the details. So one of the first things that we need to do is to define the RideEnded event. So similar to the RideStarted event, we're going to create a new Java class. We're going to call this RideEnded. Now this is going to implement our event interface, much like we did before. And then again, if we go back to our RideStarted here, we have this event name. We're just going to go ahead and copy and paste that, but instead of RideStarted, we're going to call this RideEnded. Now we're going to want some of the same fields. So we do need a ride ID, a user email, a vehicle ID. So let's go ahead and copy those over. However, there's going to be a few changes as well. So in addition to this, we're also going to want a private int battery. So we want to know when the ride ended, what was the battery level of the vehicle. We want private double latitude. We want private double longitude. So what location did the ride end at? And then we want private local date time. And this will be end time rather than start time like it was in the RideStarted. Okay, so with those in place, let's go ahead and generate some getters and setters for those. So we'll just do generate, getter, and setter, and we want everything except the event name. So we'll go ahead and add all of those. So that takes care of our class for RideEnded, which is good. So next we need to actually publish the event. So we'll go over into our ride service impl. And you remember when we published the RideStarted right here, we're going to do something pretty similar to that. So I'm just going to copy and paste that, and we're going to go down to the end ride. So for the end ride, we're still going to publish, but of course, rather than a RideStarted event, this will be a RideEnded event. So we'll create a new RideEnded, but we're still going to have to set the ride ID. We're still going to have to set the user email, the vehicle ID. We won't be setting a start time. Rather, we'll set the end time. And so we'll pass that through here. And then the other thing is we'll need the other fields. So we'll want event.setBattery, and that'll be equal to the battery that gets passed in here. We'll want event.setLatitude, which is equal to the latitude, and event.setLongitude, which is equal to the longitude that's been passed in. So I believe that should take care of all of the fields that we need. And then here, when we publish, we're not publishing a RideStarted event now, we're publishing a RideEnded event. But otherwise, we can still use the event name. So that takes care of publishing the actual event. So over in a terminal, let's just quickly run the test for the ride service and just make sure that everything works. Okay, so you see all of our tests have passed. So for all intents and purposes, the ride service appears to be working, but we still have to handle the vehicle service. So over in our vehicle service, we're going to need to create a RideEnded event. This is going to be similar to the RideStarted event. So I'm actually just going to copy the contents of the RideStarted event. Then I'm going to create a new Java class. We're going to call this RideEnded. Then we're going to paste that content in here, but we're going to change a few things. So instead of RideStarted here, it'll be RideEnded. We're not going to have a start time. We're going to rename that. So that's going to be end time. And yes, we want to rename the other locations. So we'll go ahead and do that. And then we need a few other things as well. So we have the vehicle ID. That's fine. We have the end time. That's fine. We also need a private int, which was going to be for the battery level. And then we need a private double, which will be the latitude. And we need a private double, which will be the longitude. If you remember, there was also the user email and the ride ID. But again, much like with the RideStarted, we don't care about those here. So we can ignore them. Then the next thing is to just add the getters and setters that are missing. So we'll go ahead and generate those. And we want getters and setters for battery, latitude, and longitude. So that takes care of those. And of course, the final thing we need to do is we need to actually consume the events. So over in our vehicle controller, remember where we had the RideStarted event type? Well, we're basically going to do the same thing. So again, just copying and pasting. But now instead of a RideStarted event type, we want a RideEnded event type. This here as well will be RideEnded. And then here we want a RideEnded event. And we will rename this to RideEnded. Then we're going to deserialize. This can all stay the same, except we want a RideEnded.class instead of a RideStarted.class. And instead of checking out a vehicle, now we're going to check in the vehicle. And here things get a little different because we need some more details. So we need the vehicle ID, which we've got. But then we also need the latitude. So we can do RideEnded.getLatitude. RideEnded.get longitude, RideEnded.get battery, and then RideEnded.get end time. And that takes care of the parameters for that. Otherwise, this stays the same as it was before, and we should theoretically now be handling the RideEnded event. Okay, over in our terminal, we're going to quickly run the tests and just verify that our vehicle service is behaving the way we expect, at least according to the tests. This will just take a second. Okay, so you can see our tests appear to be passing, so it looks like the vehicle service is probably working, but now we need to do an actual test of the application. Over in our application, we can see that we have our 3 vehicles checked out that we checked out previously. The question now is, can we actually check one of them back in? So we'll go over to our list of rides and we'll just pick the first one here. When we do that, it takes us to the check-in page. So for the check-in page, we have to enter a longitude and latitude as well as a battery. If you look, our longitude was originally -74 and our latitude was 40. So let's just change that slightly. We'll go with -70 and we'll go with, I don't know, maybe 45. And then our battery was at 66%. Presumably we've drained it. So let's go down to maybe 50%. And we will end the ride with those values. Now, the first thing you'll note is back on the My Rides page, you can see that that ride is now marked as inactive. So we have an entry for that ride. But what happened on the vehicles page? So over on our vehicles page, you'll see some interesting things. It looks like it shuffled my order around. So I'm not really doing any sorting when I pull the data out of the database. And so sometimes you get unexpected results, and that's what's happened here. But what you will see is that there are now only 2 rides that are unavailable. There used to be 3. And so now we just have to find the one that we just changed. And if you look down here, looking at the longitude, the latitude, and the battery life, this looks like what we just set. So this must be the one that we changed. You'll see that it's now available. And more importantly, you'll see that it actually updated the longitude and latitude. If you remember way back at the beginning when we started this, we could change the longitude and latitude when we checked in a vehicle, but this didn't actually update it. It kept whatever the old value is. Well, that's no longer the case. It's now actually updating these values, which is what we want. Now, you could go ahead and you could implement the same thing or try the same thing with the other remaining vehicles. I'll leave that to you to test out on your own time, but they should work the same as the first vehicle that we did.